Standing Committee on Education will come to order. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll. Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings.
Present.
Senator Reed. Senator Thomas. Senator Williams.
Here.
Senator Wilson.
Here.
Senator Wise. Vice Chair Tishner. Chair West.
Here. We have a quorum. We are duly constituted to conduct business. As usual, I'll read the rules for Education Committee. Please silence your cell phones. No signs allowed in the committee room. If you wish to speak for or against a measure, you need to sign up at the sign-up sheet in the back. Do any members have any introduction of special guests? Seeing none, I think we do have a special guest. Is Mrs. Ali here still? If you want to, just stepped out. Okay, we had Mrs. Ali. Yes. Yolanda Ali is here today in the building. No, seeing no introductions, we'll get right to business. We have a lot to cover today. Up first, we have HB 67, an act relating to schools and declaring an emergency. Representative Payne. Representative Payne, welcome to Education Committee. Make sure your green light's on, and the floor is yours. State your name for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative J.T. Payne, representing the 11th House District, which covers Henderson County. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I want to start by thanking Senator Tishner for all the work that she has done in protecting Kentucky students, both last session and this session. House Bill 67 is the House version of clarifying the traceable communication system. It includes pretty much everything that the Senate version included, with a few additions. And I know there's a committee sub that kind of compromises the two, which I think is a good model of House and Senate policymaking. So a couple of the differences that are in this version are, number one, it allows for an exemption of those who have a commercial involvement. So maybe they work at a city pool over the summer and supervise students that are lifeguards, or maybe they own a photography business and they do senior pictures. It would allow them to have those communications with students if that commercial involvement is disclosed to the school district. So that's one difference of the bill. The second thing is that it clarifies contract and classified and certified employees. It clarifies the academic feedback mechanisms are okay. So there's certain platforms that teachers use in their classroom that may require them to give feedback on a paper or an essay or something, and it clarifies that those things are okay and kind of clarifies the definition of virtual instruction. Then it also allows group messaging if you have multiple staff members that are involved in that group message. So think about our sports teams, our extracurricular organizations. You put multiple advisors into that group message and you communicate about the athletic team. We have, practices canceled today or something like that. Then that would be okay. And then it allows an exemption for field trips. So you all might know I'm an assistant principal by trade, and I've had multiple teachers reach out to me and say, this happened on this field trip. The bus location, the pickup location changed. I needed to contact the student. It felt like I couldn't. So it allows for that exemption. And then finally, we've had several businesses reach out and ask for an exemption on work-based learning. I think that was probably okay anyways in the original bill, but this just clarifies that it truly is. So those are the minor changes, and I will yield to Senator Tishner. I know there's a committee sub.
Before Senator Tishner gets started, we do have a sub. We do have a motion on the sub from Senator Wilson. Do we have a second? We have a second from Senator Wise. All those in favor of adopting sub say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Sub is adopted. Floor is yours, Senator Tishner. Please state your name for the record.
Senator Lindsay Titchener, District 6.
Thank you, guys. I know you all have heard this ad nauseum this session, and obviously during the interim as we were getting calls, which is the importance of this piece of legislation to make sure that the implementation is as clear as it can be, but also upholding the intent of the legislation ultimately. And I feel like the adjustments that I worked on over the interim, this is my stack, not to mention the number of meetings and calls that I fielded to make sure we were addressing all of these issues, just to make sure that the intent of this legislation is upheld and students are safe. And one of the things about the House version that I did not feel comfortable with, I've made some changes to that in this committee sub, and ultimately it's on the principle that inconvenience should not supersede student safety. And I think we need to look at that when we have complaints about how something might be inconvenient. We need to make sure our students are protected first and foremost, and the level of trust that our schools are given from parents to protect their students, we need to make sure we keep that intact. So the things that I changed in the House version, which is in the committee sub, is to remove that nonprofit provision that was in section 1, subsection 1(2). So you can see that that's struck out, and then it's also struck out further in the bill in section 6 of the bill. The other thing that I wanted to make sure we looked at, we had added a floor amendment in the House version or the Senate version of SB 181 that in the list of exceptions we had SROs and DPP and mental health counselors who were able to be on a group text with at least two of those three on a private communication with a student. So I've swapped out one of the exceptions in House Bill 67, which was section, let me get to my number, section 3 of all of the exemptions, subsection G. And we swapped in the SROs, DPP, and mental health professional that could be on private communications as long as two of those three are on there. And those are the changes to the Senate Bill 181 revisions. And then we have also added into this the financial accountability and transparency that was in Senate Bill 3. And I don't know that I need to go over that with you all. So that is what is in the committee sub.
Thank you so much to both of you. Representative Payne, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say for the record, I appreciate those changes to House Bill 67, and I think they're well-intentioned and definitely serve a great purpose, so I'm certainly supportive of those.
It's
Thank
definitely
you.
that time of year.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both for your excellent presentation. Do we have any questions from members? Seeing no questions, we have a motion on the bill.
Motion on the bill.
We have a motion on the bill from Senator Wilson. Second. I'll second. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll. Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings.
Aye.
Senator Reed.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Senator Tishner. Senator Williams.
Aye.
Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Chair West.
Aye. House Bill 67 passes unanimously. We will not place this on consent at this time. It passes with the opinion the same should pass. Committee sub attached there too. Thank you, Representative Payne. We're going to call a little bit of an audible. I was going to keep you there, but if you could step back just a second, we're going to bring Representative Tipton in here to present HB 253, an act relating to reading and language arts instruction. Both of you are friends to the committee. You know the deal. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. State Representative James Tipton, House District 53.
Nikki Marinelli, Chief Academic Officer, the Kentucky Department of Education.
Could you please pull that microphone a little closer?
Yes, sir.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe there is a Senate committee sub.
There is. Do we have a motion on the sub? Motion. We have a motion from Senator Tishner, We have a second for Senator Wilson. All in favor of adopting the sub, say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Sub is adopted.
Mr. Chair, I think what I will do is I will explain the original House Bill 253, which I don't believe had any changes to it, and then we can take questions while Mickey is here. We've put a real focus on early literacy, early numeracy, trying to get our students off to a good start. Chair West did a great job, and I was glad to support him with Senate Bill 9 in 2022, the Read to Succeed Act. And I see House Bill 253 as just a logical follow-up as we improve on that piece of legislation. There is a process of teaching, a method of teaching that has been used for many years across the country, referred to as the 3-cueing system. Essentially, the way a 3-cueing system would work is a student would have a passage to read. There might be a picture on the adjoining page, and if they were struggling reading a word, the teacher might point to that picture. And maybe the student might say, Johnny rode his pony to school, but the word was horse. So we've had a situation where, and I can share with you, KDE has some good information on their website why 3-cueing is not efficient, it's not productive, it's not good for students. I'll be happy to share that with you later. I won't go into all that right now. But essentially what this bill would do, one thing it would do, it would require all public post-secondary institutions that offer teacher prep programs to use research-based, evidence-based instruction in reading that does not include the instruction of 3-cueing. It would, in our K-12 classrooms, we understand that we've had of the 19,000 early elementary teachers, 7,000 have completed letters training. I've been told by many that is the best professional development they've ever had. We understand that we still need to get some teachers with some access to learning about the science of reading, those 5 essential components of reading. So we would phase out over a 3-year period by starting in the 29-30 school year. K-12, the elementary schools in our state would no longer be allowed to use this method called 3-cueing in their instruction. They would be required to use such evidence-based curriculum as assigned by KDE. And also a very important component of that, KDE would develop professional development over the next 3 years so that all of our teachers who go through this would have this professional development before we stop this process, so they have a better feeling of how to teach the science of reading. Mickey, could you share a little bit about what we have seen already, improvement with letters and Read to Succeed, and how this could complement that?
Yes, thank you, Representative Tipton. I'm happy to be here today alongside for this piece of legislation. What we have found is that teachers who have gone through the letters training, if students are in classrooms of teachers who are letters trained 2 consecutive years, there is statistical significance of improvement and growth in both 4th and 5th grade. We also just recently received information from our Kentucky Reading Research Center that schools that have at least 10% of their teachers trained in the letters professional learning, they have significantly higher rates of proficiency for reading, and also they're seeing greater growth in novice reduction. So the professional learning is imperative for the student experience and to make accelerated progress toward proficiency.
At this time, do any members have any questions on this section?
Senator Thomas.
Thank you. My question is for Mickey.
Yes, sir.
I've had several teachers in Fayette County, my home county, ask me to oppose this legislation. They say that it's really helped students. In fact, I've been to some of their schools and seen numerous of books that they have in their library using this system. They said they've used it effectively. Again, can you explain why KDE takes a position that needs to be phased out? Because what I really want to do is make sure I do the right thing here.
Yes, sir.
And so I want to hear why KDE supports the elimination of the 3-cueing system.
Well, Senator Thomas, I think that we have the burden of ensuring that we are aligned to the research and to the evidence basis. And there are multiple studies that show with this method of teaching reading, there's brain scan research that shows that if you're using 3Qing, it's not lighting up the parts of the brain that effective readers are utilizing when they're learning to read. There's also a study that shows that while the effects are evident in first grade, there's some evidence of growth in grade 1. By the time students get to 4th grade, where they don't have pictures, where the text is more complex, that they are actually performing below students who receive no intervention in this mechanism at all. And so, again, I would say that there is positive intent, and historically in our state, we did promote this mechanism previously, but now we know more, and so we're wanting to be able to make an investment in teachers to support their professional learning so that they understand how students learn to read and why some students are struggling.
Senator Thomas, if I could add, KDE
Please.
does not only support this, I also have a letter from Bridget Bloom with the Pritchard Committee for Academic Evidence, and they fully support House Bill 253.
But there is a vast body of evidence that shows the problems with this 3Qing method.
I have one question, then we'll move into the sub real quick. So just to restate what you stated earlier, the Read to Succeed appears to be working very well.
Yes.
There's a lot of buy-in across the state from teachers and administrators alike, and it seems to be we're already seeing results. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, Senator West, we are happy to report.
Thank you. We'll probably have an interim committee on that, just to let you know. So if you would, Co-Chair Tipton, if you would go into the sub, please.
Sure, thank you. Starting on page 15, section 6 of the bill is the committee sub, and this is essentially the major components of House Bill 102. That is a piece of legislation. This is the 4th year that I have filed it, dealing with school employee misconduct. We have a lot of great teachers and school employees that do a tremendous job across the state of Kentucky. However, we are all aware. Social media is making it even more aware that there have been evidence of teachers, of school employees who have taken advantage, especially in sexual misconduct situations. Not to pick on a school district, but Rowland County just had a $3 million settlement over this issue. And unfortunately, we continue to see this. And that's what this portion of Senate Bill 253 is about. I think the major part of this legislation is it says that a public school district or public charter school shall not enter into a non-disclosure agreement relating to misconduct involving a minor or student, including abusive conduct is defined in Section 2, and abusive conduct is defined as means sexual misconduct in conduct subject to mandatory reporting under KRS 620.030 that involves a minor or child. I will add that later on in this legislation, it also includes that certified non-public schools are not allowed to enter into these non-disclosure agreements. I think part of the process, part of this bill is dealing with the process. We know as superintendents, schools are trying to go through field teaching positions. There is legislation, information on page 18 that states that if requested by a school district requiring one of their applicants, one of the former school districts that employed a teacher or employee shall disclose any disciplinary action that resulted in resignation or termination related to abusive conduct while the applicant was employed by that school or school district. It also references in 2023 we passed House Bill 319 that made us part of an interstate teacher compact. It also allows that those teachers from other states that are part of that compact, and also in the bill it spells out that school district would be immune from liability for disclosing that information with the district that asked for it. Some of the major points there. One thing I want to point out, there is in this bill, there's been some concern that what happens if the allegation is proven to be false or incorrect, And in this legislation, it clearly states that that would be removed from the individual's personal record if it's found to be not true. It spells out a process. If a school employee is notified of one of these instances, they are to report this to the principal, who shall document that in writing and report that to the superintendent. As I'm sure you're aware, state law requires a superintendent to report within 30 days to EPSB any allegation that might result in a teacher losing their license. There's also a provision in here that KDE will develop a training program that all teachers would have one time on this issue, and it would also direct all new teachers would have to go through this as well. That is pretty much the essence of the sub, Mr. Chair, and be happy to entertain any questions on that or the former portion.
Yes, we have, today we have one person signed up to speak. We have Laura Koppelman. Are you here to speak on this particular bill? Okay. If you would step up to the chair at this time, and I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to have to hold you to about 3 minutes.
Oh, it'll be less than that.
Okay.
Laura, make sure that
That's
the
what
green
they
light
all
comes
say.
on. There you go.
I promise.
The floor is yours. State your name for the record, and
Thank
please proceed.
you. My name is Laura Wills Koppelman. I'm here today to speak to the NDA provision being considered. I'd like for you to take a look around this room, and let's recognize something. The people who aren't here, the people who can't speak today, minors who have signed NDAs related to incidents involving staff and or administration from their school. And the reason they're not here is because it's working. Silence is the point. When a school uses an NDA in any case involving a student, it shifts the priority from the protection of children to the protection of the institution. In many cases, these agreements are signed by minors, young people who cannot consent to much of anything and cannot possibly understand the lifelong impact of being told they can never speak about what happened to them. This provision ensures that when harm occurs, it cannot be quietly buried. You know your constituents well. Do you truly believe that they're aware that NDAs are routinely used in schools? And if they aren't, do you think that they would be okay with it? I think you know the answer, and that's why this matters. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We really appreciate it, and I wish we had more time, but we're at that time of year. So, do we have a motion on HB 253 as amended by the Senate Committee substitute? We have a motion from Senator Tishner. We have a second from Senator Reed. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings.
Aye.
Senator Reed.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to explain my past vote at this time.
Please proceed.
Okay. First of all, as I've indicated, I have some reservations about the change in the 3 queuing system. I need to spend some time more talking to some of the reading specialists there in my hometown of Fayette County. Also, I would be happy to talk with KDE more about this because I want to be sure that I make the right vote regarding this. In addition, your bill's been radically changed because now it has added emphasis regarding teacher misconduct. I think that deserves a little bit more attention as well by me. Certainly, they're bad actors in any profession. I'm not going to deny that. They're bad actors in the legal profession, and they need to be held accountable. So I'm not concerned about the accountability so much as the manner in which the bill is written and addresses these NDAs. So I want more time on that as well. So at this point, rather than saying aye or no, I'm going to pass and do a deeper dive in this as it comes to the Senate floor.
Senator Tishner.
May I explain my aye vote?
Please proceed.
Thank you. Representative Tipton, this is probably one of the most important bills you've worked on for years, and now you get to put both of them together, both issues super important. Regarding the 3Qing, Mickey, thank you for being here and explaining that. For those in the audience who haven't had an opportunity to listen to an investigative podcast, it's about a 14 series podcast, 30-minute episodes, and it's called Sold a Story about the 3Qing method. It will be the most eye-opening podcast on literacy and what's happened to education. And we've seen states pull away from that 3Qing method. The Mississippi Miracle, the most widely known, and their scores have skyrocketed. So I'm excited about that. And with the second part of the bill, just thank you for continuing your work on this. This is a complement to a lot of the legislation that we've seen the General Assembly focus on and move through to make sure student safety is at the forefront and make sure our schools have the confidence and trust from parents that they're a safe place. And I just appreciate your time and work on this. Thank you.
Senator Williams.
Aye.
Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Chair West.
Aye. House Bill 253, as amended by Senate Committee Sub 1, passes with favorable expression. 11 votes, 11 aye votes, 1 pass vote. There is a title amendment. We need a motion and a second on the title amendment. Do we have a motion? Motion from Senator Wise. Second from Senator Wilson. All those in favor of adopting the title amendment say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Title amendment is adopted. Next up on the agenda, we have HB 257. Thank you, Co-Chair Tipton. Sorry to play musical chairs today. An act relating to education assessment and accountability system. Both of you are friends to the committee. Whenever you're settled, state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. J.T. Payne, State Representative of the 11th House District.
And Dr. Robbie Fletcher, Commissioner of Education.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. So House Bill 257 makes some changes to the state assessment and accountability system. I believe that it strengthens our state assessment and accountability system. I'll briefly go over those changes and then be happy to yield to any questions.
Could you pause 1 second?
Sure.
Just so everyone on the committee knows, there is a Senate committee sub that has been distributed to you just a minute ago. While we're going through this, just to let you know, you have that in front of you, and we'll adopt the sub here shortly. But sorry about that. Proceed.
Thank you. So there's really, the changes could be summarized in 4 ways. Number 1, it's a reduction in standardized testing, and we hear a whole lot that students are subjected to way too much testing in our schools. So it really looks at the least credible parts of our assessment and accountability system, which I believe are the climate and culture survey, which is a very subjective measure, and then also the on-demand writing component, which is really a prompt and a timed, I'm going to write this many paragraphs, and it removes that from the state system so that districts can adopt a more relevant, real-world way of teaching and assessing writing. The second thing that it does is, and I think this is probably the most important component of the bill, is it moves the model from a change to a growth model. So instead of comparing this year's third graders to next year's third graders, we'll be looking at the individual student and seeing how do they grow maybe from third to fourth grade, right? So how do they grow in the period of a year, which is extremely important. We should be looking at the individual child to see where they go in an academic year. The third thing that it does is it encourages more collaboration between school districts and their local communities. And you probably remember over the interim we had in the Joint Education Committee a presentation about local accountability. This does not fully adopt local accountability. It totally preserves the state accountability system while adding an option for districts to participate in what we call local indicators of quality. The reason that it's an option and a kind of a phased-in approach is we need time as legislators to look and see the districts that opt into this system, which is an innovative approach to education. The districts that do opt in, where does their achievement go in other areas? And this allows us to phase in that approach and look and see, is this something that's going to improve our schools, and we hope it will. And then number 4 is that it prioritizes student attendance. So I mentioned the removal of the climate survey. It replaces that with a measure of chronic absenteeism. We know that one of the most reliable indicators of student success, lifelong student success, is attendance. So I think that a measure of quality for our schools is the measure of attendance. So it replaces that metric, which I will add 36, as of last year, 36 other states utilize that indicator as a measure in their school report card. We do not, and we're one of only 5 states that have this survey as part of their school accountability. So I think that's a positive move. And I'll yield to the commissioner if he has anything to add.
Now, as you look through I just want to emphasize there are 2 parts to this bill, and I think Representative Payne did an excellent job. Also, thank you, Chair West, and everyone for the opportunity to be here today. But again, the overall, we have seen so much growth and so much support for the local accountability model. Now, currently, in House Bill 257, there is a formula for calculating CSI. The local accountability piece is not part of that. So we have student success measures and our student assessments in math, science, social studies, and reading. We also have other parts that include the transition readiness and graduation rate. And one of the things that we've seen across the Commonwealth in support is the move from change to growth. As a matter of fact, one of our early surveys had 92% of the people that answered the survey as in support of moving to individual student growth. And I think everyone can agree that where did you get the child and where did you take the child is an important measure as opposed to the change component that was there. Other parts that are included was the switch from the student safety and climate. This was discussed a lot in our Cool Council. As a matter of fact, the chronic absenteeism was discussed. And after going through the House process and talking about it, there was an addition to the chronic absenteeism. As far as the local accountability piece, we've talked to districts across the state that have used this. We're finding more transparency, which I think is what we want to hear, we want to see in our districts. You know, for example, I've had one district in particular, actually a couple of districts, says even if this doesn't pass, we're going to continue with local accountability because we're restoring the faith of our community in our schools with the process that we're going through. We're involving, as a matter of fact, we have legislators that are on local accountability model teams. We have, church leaders. We have local government officials. We have parents. We have students that are going through this local accountability and allowing districts to actually, these are the indicators of quality that we believe in our local communities. We think this is a positive step forward. We are also thankful for the financial cost offset that's in there, a one-time $15,000 that would allow districts some start on getting this out. But again, making sure we meet the needs of our local community. Preserving the CSI, the calculation for that, and making sure that again, one of the things we've always talked about, we don't want to see that gamed. And so we want to make sure that we preserve that, but also, too, give this opportunity for local accountability. And hopefully, we'll gain more and more trust as we move forward with the local accountability model, and maybe even see other changes in the future. So with that being said, I'd like to thank Representative Payne for his hard work, and I also like to thank, I've met with every single person on this committee individually about this bill, and I think we've answered a lot of questions. It looks a little different than what you were presented, but I think it's in a good spot now and ready to move forward.
So at this time, there is a committee sub. We're going to go a little bit off script as to what we normally do. Before we act on the sub, I'm going to yield to Senator Givens to discuss the sub.
Chairman, thank you, and appreciate the legislation and the conversations that we've had about this legislation. Commissioner, you did appear with me or meet with me this past summer. Had a great conversation. You listened to the concerns I had, and I've long watched the evolution of different accountability models and the way we do things. And so in that conversation, I appreciated particularly the fact that I raised concerns with you about us calling it a local accountability model and a statewide accountability model and the confusion around accountability. And I appreciate you rephrasing it into I think we're calling it locally developed indicators of quality. So the concern I raised with you then has been addressed in that, because I was concerned about the local school grading themselves on how they're doing. And none of us are going to grade ourselves as harshly as real life grades us. That's the nature of the way we all operate. Colleagues, I want to share with you the committee sub, and I'm particularly interested in us going even further to move toward what I think can be an even better metric with the addition of the pieces that we have in the sub. And I direct all of your attention, if you would, on the bottom of 22 and top of 23. I am asking this committee to consider adding, by way of this sub, the language you see at the bottom of 22 and top of 23 that does three things. And I'm calling these targeted quality measures, which, as you see at the top of 23, will have a cumulative weight and accountability of no less than 5%. So I'm giving the Department of Education significant latitude in weighting the three components I'm going to share with you. The sum of those three components would equal 5% of the accountability score. Those three metrics, the first being percentage of certified teachers within the school and district who have attained National Board for Professional Teaching Standards certification. That is the most solid piece of metric I can find to get a handle on professionalism and teacher quality. We had a great meeting yesterday. I shared the sub with both of you, and you had some constructive criticisms you offered, and I certainly suspect you may offer those again here, and those are welcome. But the goal being, as we learned a little over a year and a half ago in this committee in a presentation by OEA, the largest factor in a teacher's satisfaction in his or her workplace is not how much they're getting paid. It's the quality of the workplace, the professionalism and the environment in that workplace. And so the goal of metric one of those three is going to be to promote the professionalism within the district and score that in the accountability model. The second component of this cumulative weight targeted quality measure is going to be what I call rigor. The first being professionalism, the second being rigor. Rigor in the form of Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. For a long time, we had districts that offered this. Some have moved away. We don't have as many offering today, I'm told, as we did at one time. I feel like our students can achieve great things when challenged. This second component addresses that rigor element of the metric. The third, and the one that interests me the most, and I've long had an interest in this, and we've had conversations and pushes around FAFSA for graduation, and a number of states do that. A number of states require FAFSA completion for graduation. This third metric of the three is what I call the launch component. K through 12 does a wonderful job in lots of ways. I'd like to challenge it to do even more by launching kids into life and what the next chapter of life looks like. And this is the easiest metric for us to get our arms around, this FAFSA completion metric. And the goal being there, hey, I'm not saying every kid needs to go to college. Every kid does need some sort of post-secondary credential of some kind. Learning can't stop at high school. Now, some are going to say, well, the FAFSA is a headache to complete. Absolutely it is. Life is going to have so many headaches for these young students over time. Why not learn how to deal with headaches in a good supportive environment like the high school setting? So that third component being launch, and again, the three of those together would have a cumulative weight in the accountability score of 5% or more, but likely 5%. That's the substance of the sub, and I would move for adoption of Senate Committee Sub 1.
Do we have any questions on the sub? Seeing none, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion on the sub?
I made the motion.
Made the motion. I'm sorry,
Yep.
I didn't hear that. Senator Carroll has a second. All those in favor of adopting sub say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Sub is adopted. Now we're going to receive questions on the bill itself. Senator Rawlings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there's some strong concepts in the bill, but I'm looking at an email from a school board chairman or member, and he's concerned with the expansion of accountability measures into more subjective areas such as student engagement, well-being, and locally defined indicators could create inconsistencies across districts. Without clear, standardized definitions, it may become difficult to ensure fairness and comparability statewide. And where he mentions student engagement, well-being, and that kind of thing, is this how do you respond to that? And is this modeled after portrait of a student?
I'll answer the first part of that question, and I share some of those concerns that a local accountability model that we mandate across the state as part of the measurement of quality of our school districts is too subjective. I agree with that, which is why this bill separates that and allows districts the option to participate in a local indicator of locally developed indicator of quality, where local community members would sit down and say, this is the direction that we think your school needs to go. Maybe in Henderson County, we have a high percentage of employment in manufacturing. So maybe we need work-based learning experiences and industry certifications that surround manufacturing. That isn't a mandate that should go across the state. So this allows for the option for districts to receive that local input and participate in that while preserving the objective, which I would argue that this bill makes the state accountability side, which we use to calculate CSI, it makes it even more objective because it removes some of the subjective areas. And it totally preserves that, where schools are still going to receive a color rating. They're still going to be compared to their neighbor in an even more objective way than they were in the past. And really, that's going to be the consistency, continue to be the consistency across the state, whereas the local piece is where school districts may develop specific local initiatives that their community needs. So
Right.
I would agree with that concern if we were mandating it across the state and saying this is something everybody has to do and this is going to be part of the state or the school report card. I would agree with that, but this bill does not do that.
Okay.
And if I may, that was one. I think this touches on the concern that Senator Gibbons had. When people hear local accountability, they think of local comparability, and really what we're wanting districts to do is compare where they are now with where they used to be and where they want to go. So let's be very clear. There is a formula for CSI status in the state accountability. The local accountability piece doesn't play any part of that. The districts that I'd invite you to talk with, Shelby County, Fleming County, Rockcastle County, and Kenton County, many others, what they've done, they still focus on that calculation of making sure their test scores are where they need to be, make sure they're having growth, and there's no confusion between the two. But they've used that local accountability piece to spotlight that students are so much more than just a test score. Students are having the opportunity to communicate. Well, I think we'd all agree, too, we need students with grit. Because it doesn't matter what your test score is, if you don't have the grit, you're not going to be successful. So how do you measure that? How can a district come up with that measure? Or collaboration. We hear from our job force all the time. We want students that can work with a community of workers, a group together, so they can work and collaborate and problem solve. The state accountability system is test scores. It's also transition readiness. But this local accountability gives districts the opportunity to say, this is how we want to show that our students are growing in those other areas, whether it be collaboration, communication, problem solving, things of that nature. That's so important. So that's why, in talking with the House, these two are separated. It's one accountability model, but we're encouraging districts to go to that route. As a matter of fact, there is trigger language in the bill that would say if we get 60% of districts that would adopt a local accountability model, then all districts shall. The bonuses and the benefits that we're seeing from districts that have adopted this local accountability model have been tremendous. Again, restoring the faith of the community in the local school system. That's the important part. But please know, there's one score that is the accountability model for CSI status. There's still going to be the color ratings, although I'll have to admit I'm not in agreement with the color ratings, but it's still in the bill.
We disagree on that area.
We do disagree on that. But with that being said, I understand and I appreciate we've reached a compromise where we think this is a good bill moving forward as we go through. So again, these are the calculation. There's no percentage for local accountability added to the CSI calculation.
Okay. Well, the second part of my question,
Quickly.
is this based on portrait of a student? That's had a lot of, I agree with the criticisms of that model, that's been a failed model. Is this bill
It can.
somewhat based on that?
It can. If a district has where they're looking at their portrait of learner to be a part of their local accountability, it absolutely can. But again, that's up to the local community on how they want to do their model.
All right.
Okay, we've got 3 more questions in this segment. We're running up against the clock. We got 2 more bills. I would ask everybody to keep their questions very tight. Senator Williams.
Yeah, I think my question was stated in here, but my concern is, and address this, is we're mandating this on 40% of the districts throughout the state. You know, we're saying 60% get to call the shots for the other 40%. So you can't really say this is not a mandate to local districts. We have the same thing with compulsory education from 16 to 18, where we mandated once 50% of the school districts went over that was required. And why mandate? If this is a local option, why mandate it for that other 40%?
I'll address that. I think that what we're doing was we've seen so much benefit in the districts that have adopted this that we feel like it's good. Now, again, districts have the option up to the 60%. You're correct. And if they get to beyond the 103 out of 171 districts, then we'd have all other districts that would adopt that within the next 2 years. Again, to see the benefits that we're seeing in other districts, I think this is an opportunity for all of us to grow together. Hopefully, within the first 4 years, we'll have 85, 90%. But again, there is that trigger language of 60%.
Senator Tishner.
Thank you, and thank you, Commissioner, for meeting with me this interim in discussion about this bill. I had some concerns with it then. I have some concerns with it now. I do like some of the Senate committee substitute additions to the bill, but overall, when I look at although it doesn't look like a big change when we're changing in measurements to growth, how will we over time assess our data? Because I've dug into our assessments and tried to look at data, and there's always a hiccup because the metrics change, and you can't really go back and get a good quick assessment of where were we 15 years ago, what were we doing. This was particular when I was doing my cursive bill. I could only go back so far because the metrics of assessing had changed, and it was really a challenge. And I think when we look at removing the model that we have in place, that's a big thing. Looking at growth is important. How is that really truly measured is going to be another big challenge. But I want to be able to assess over time how we're doing. And I wonder how this is going to affect that.
Well, and that's when we talked with the House, that was one of the concerns. How do we continue to be able to compare longitudinally? So if you look at the state assessment piece, we still are using the same types of assessments. We're still using math. We're still using reading, science, and social studies. So you'll be able to look back, even with this new model, you'll still be able to look back at what were the reading scores, what were the science scores, what were the social studies, and what were the science, social studies, reading, and mathematics. You'll be able to see that over time with how this bill is written. So that, again, the assessment, and just to be open, we wanted a computer adaptive assessment. If we would have adopted the computer adaptive assessment in reading and mathematics, that would have changed the longitudinal comparison data. But the benefits of that was that we'd be able to tell you what grade level equivalent that a student would be on. So do you want to see what grade level a student is on versus do you want longitudinal data? In talking with the House, it was more important to have the longitudinal data, so that's why the bill is where it is now. Now, again, I don't want to put words into the representative's mouth, but I'd like for him to chime in on that also.
Yeah, I would agree that was kind of a compromise piece, is we wanted to keep the assessments the same so that we could compare from year to year. The change indicator calculation that you're referring to, and this is just from my experience as an administrator, like I'll take post-secondary readiness for instance. That's an area that Henderson County High School is one of the top 15 in the state. The change indicator, if you grow, it takes the number from this year, the number to next year, and it adds it to your school report card number. So if you're already at the top, you're only going to change a percentage or two, maybe up or down per year. If you're at the top and you can't have that much of a growth, then really it kind of penalizes the people that are at the top, because you can't have quite the growth from this class to the next class, whereas individual students can grow. So it's a nice concept, but I would agree with the commissioner that you're still going to have all the longitudinal data you want with this bill, because you're going to be able to look at last year's raw number compared to this year's raw number, apples to apples, same assessments, which is something that was important to us in the House.
Senator Thomas.
Commissioner Fletcher, it's always good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
My question is very straightforward. Some of your larger school districts, Jefferson County, Fayette County, have expressed to me a concern about the FAFSA component because they have huge may be a bit of an overstatement, but they have large immigrant populations, and they're concerned they might not be able to meet that part of Senator Givens' committee sub because of the size of the immigrant populations. What's your thought on that?
Well, Senator Givens and I, we spoke about this yesterday. As far as the FAFSA completion rate, if we look at states across that have the FAFSA completion rate, they also, to my knowledge, all of them also have an opt-out. For example, if you have, let's say just simplistically, you completed FAFSA, check. You get that credit, if you will. Or a district can go in and say, we have sat down with the parents, or if it's an 18-year-old that is no longer under guardianship care, we've gone through, these are the benefits of the FAFSA, these are the things that's how to fill it out, but still yet you refuse to sign off. So again, as far as the FAFSA, I think that really assesses more of adult behavior, but I think there could be a compromise there to say, okay, how can we add this on? And to be clear, we've talked about this. This cannot be added on, to my knowledge, to the federal CSI component. We would probably have to look at this on how we add that to the color coding, color ratings. So it may be a bonus number, possibly. And I do want to say I want to thank Senator Givens for giving us a lot of latitude on how that's handled currently in the sub. So thank you for that, sir. But again, how we handle that moving forward, I think there's some ways that we can offset that, because if they don't fill it out, again, those states that have it have an opt-out version, so that could be beneficial too.
We'll have to, because of time, we need to go ahead and vote. Do we have a motion on HB 257? We have a motion on the bill. We have a motion from Senator Givens. I'll second the motion. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings.
No.
Senator Reed. Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner. Senator Williams.
I'd like to explain my no vote.
Please proceed.
Hey, there's some things that I like about this local control, but the bottom line is we are measuring process and not results. That's all the stuff that we're introducing here. It's process and not results. And what we need to be measuring is competency, not the process or how many certified teachers you have. I don't care. I want the results of the kids. And I'm looking at all this other stuff. If they, did you take a high school credit? We'll go to Carnegie Units Carnegie that invented the credits. They're apologizing for that. They want competency, not credit hours to show. And the FAFSA, putting that down here, for Pete's sake, I understand that the people that can take advantage of the FAFSA, the folks that are income limited, you want them to report it. But maybe not half, but a large percentage of the higher income people, they don't want to reveal their data to their local people or to anybody else. So now you're forcing high income people who aren't going to be able to take advantage of FAFSA because of their income levels to actually report it. So you can have, again, another measure that has nothing to do with competency. It's just measuring process. And so I would like to be for this bill. And the final thing is the 40%. We shouldn't be mandating any of this stuff on anybody and try selling it as local control. Okay? So I'm a firm no, and there's a lot of other stuff, but I know we need to move on. But those are just a few of my highlights. It's I want every individual kid's competency in reading, writing, and arithmetic. Apparently spelling wasn't that important back in the day, but that's what we need to be measured, that student's progress year to year. Thank you.
Senator Wilson.
Explain my vote.
Please proceed.
I'm going to vote aye, but I, like Senator Givens, I think have some reservations that I would like to see more things in regards to safety, to measure a school, and also that I believe there was something that Senator West did with the training of principals, because I've found that the success of a school really relates to the leadership, because I've been in a lot of different schools, and those that are good schools have good leadership. And I love the measurement he put in about the National Board Certified Teachers, but I'd also like to see something in there about having the principals, having gone through the Principal Academy as one of the measurements too as well, and possibly in regards to safety, because a lot of times what we're hearing is that teachers are leaving the profession because there's no discipline for the students that are acting up and putting them in danger. And I like that Senator Nunn's bill addresses some of that. So I'm a reluctant yes, but I am voting yes. Thank you.
Senator Wise.
Briefly explain my vote.
Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, real briefly, I'm going to vote aye to move the bill along in the process. I do appreciate the comments of the other members, but I do look forward to having an overall bigger conversation within our caucus. Thank you all.
Chair West.
Aye. House Bill 257 passes with 8 ayes and 4 noes. Thank you, Representative Payne. Thank you, Commissioner, for your excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Up next, House Bill 307, an act relating to proactive post-secondary admission. As a committee chair, Representative Tipton, you know the importance of the clock, and we've surpassed our time, but the floor is yours. We're going to do our best to get you across the finish line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will try and be brief. I'll make one opening statement. I've often heard the expression, you don't know what you don't know. And one thing that I do know is that as technology changes and advancements take place, more and more of our individuals, our students who grow into adulthood are going to have some type of post-secondary education, credential, certificate, degree, to be able to be employed in the future. And a lot of people, especially people who maybe don't have a family member who's ever attended college or any type of post-sec, they may think, that's not for me. I don't have any opportunity. And that's what House Bill 307 is about. And actually, we've titled this bill My Kentucky Future Act. What this legislation would do, it would establish a proactive post-secondary admissions program that would notify students of eligibility for prospective admission to a public post-secondary institution. It would also provide instructions to high school students on how to access the common online application to apply for full admission to public post-secondary institutions. You may say, we don't have a common app. Well, this bill will give us a common app.
We have a second from Senator Wilson. In the interest of time, Co-Chair Tipton, I'm going to move on with the vote, if you don't mind. I'm in full support of your bill. We've been to several conferences, love what you've done. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings. Senator Reed. Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner. Senator Williams.
I'm going to explain my aye vote.
Please proceed.
Again, we're pushing so many people to college and filling that out, and we really need the trades and the certifications and that sort of thing. So
this would include all of that from the community colleges, Mr. Senator.
Which is why I'm voting aye, okay, on that. And I appreciate you coming on the effort, but I just want to take this emphasis to say we need to make sure that we're not sending kids to colleges and universities who have priced themselves out of the market, and that we are looking at kids that can go out in the workforce and earn a working wage for their family.
Senator Wilson,
Aye.
Senator Wise, Chair West.
Aye. House Bill 307 passes unanimously. Do we have a motion for consent? We have a motion from Senator Wise. We have a second from Senator Givens. All in favor of consent say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. House Bill 307 is on consent.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Co-Chair
Chair
Taylor.
and members of the committee.
Next up, House Bill 379, an act relating to post-secondary education. Representative Shane Baker. Representative Baker, I will apologize in advance. This committee got a little bit out of control on me today, so we will. Let's try to keep everything to 4 to 5 minutes if we can. And everybody state your name for the record, and please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Shane Baker, State Representative, House District 85.
Reagan Satterwhite, Director of Government Relations, the Council on Post-Secondary Education.
Jenny Sand, Executive Director, Government Community Relations at Northern Kentucky University.
Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're happy to be brief. House Bill 379 is built on the framework of last year's House Bill 711, which didn't make it all the way through the process. Much of the bill is a cleanup bill that eliminates some things that are outdated or unnecessary. But there's a couple new things that were added in there over the past year as a result of conversations with post-secondary institutions and CPE. A couple things that it does. Post-secondary governing board members' attendance at mandatory orientation or training does not constitute a meeting for the purpose of open meeting records or open meetings, provided no action is taken. The second thing it does is it helps the post-secondaries collect unpaid debt from enrollment-related issues. It authorizes the Department of Revenue to collect those debts. The department will retain a fee for doing so, and they will remit the recovered funds to the referring institution. The third thing it does, it designates Northern Kentucky University as the Center for Mathematics, and they will report annually to LRC. They've been doing this for a number of years. No one else has wanted to do it. They've done it very well, and this just makes that official and allows them to continue doing so moving forward. The last thing, it provides that preliminary discussions relating to productivity and performance evaluations of a post-secondary president may occur in closed session, and a summative evaluation presented in an open meeting. That's pretty much it.
Excellent presentation. We do have a motion on the bill from Senator Rawlings, second from Senator Wilson. Please call the roll.
Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Givens. Senator Higdon. Senator Meredith. Senator Neal. Senator Rawlings. Senator Reed. Senator Thomas. Senator Tishner. Senator Williams. Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Wise. Chair West.
Aye. House Bill 379 passes unanimously. We have a motion from Senator Wilson for consent. Do we have a second? Second from Senator Givens. All those in favor of putting 379 on consent say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. 379 is on consent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Senator Carroll has some business, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to officially record my attendance and also cast an aye vote for House Bill 67.
Duly noted. Thank you, Senator.